Are Ungors any good? Okay, we're having more stats here because I expect about 50 views on this video, so I'm doing Ungor Spearman Herd, Spearman with Shields, and Ungor Herd without the spears, all in one combination. We'll go over how they compare, strengths, weaknesses, anchovies, the works. Please like, subscribe, comment, and consider joining to my Ko-fi page. It's good to have you on this journey through the Beastmen roster, since it's really my first time playing as them. All varieties of Ungor units have 8960 HP and 160 models on Ultra, and all variants have 15 armor, which is dismal. On the other hand, that's no worse than the 15 of the Gore Herd units. If you're after expendable trait meat shields, the Ungors have you covered. Leadership is 54 for each of the three variants. Speed, likewise, is 36 across all of them. We see the differences rise up mainly in weapons, and that, except for the most basic, uncapped unit of all, the Spearman Herd, the others have shields, bronze quality, and blocking 35% of small arms missile fire. The two Spearman units share a base melee attack of 20. Interestingly, the base unit has a dismal 4.6 attack interval, but the Shields variant has 4.2, which means they stabby at a faster click. The Ungor Herd per se has a base 22 melee attack and an interval of 4.3. Melee defense is 22 for the base variant, 24 for the Ungor Herd per se, and a Meteor 30 for the Ungor Spearman with Shields. Weapon strength is the same for both Spearmen at 22, with 17 base damage, 5 armor piercing, and a bonus versus large of 12. These two units share a charge bonus of 6. Keep in mind that the Shields variant attacks faster. The quote-unquote Ungor Herd has weapon strength of 27, with no bonus versus large, but doing 20 base damage and 7 AP damage, putting them not crazy far behind the Gore Herd with Shields. You also have a charge bonus of 15, which is a far cry from the 6 that the others get. All of the Ungors have a mass of 100, making them no thicker than human infantry. Primal Fury will grant these units plus 5 melee attack and up to plus 10% speed, plus 10% charge bonus, and immunity to psychology while active. That's a boost, mostly to their mobility and bite because you can't do too much with a base charge bonus of 6. But that's where we start getting sneaky. All of these units are woodsman units. They are all expendable per the trait. Others won't rout from seeing them rout unless they too are expendable. Moreover, they have Vanguard deployment and Stalk. Yes, Stalk, just like the Ungor Raiders. They get this for free. You don't have to do anything else to give them this. The Spearman units have charge defense versus large as well as charge reflection. I've mentioned for other factions that in the right situation, charge reflection can turn the tables on powerful units. It's funny because in terms of ideal targets for the Ungor Spearmen, aren't Centaurs basically the best opponents ever? Low armor, high charge, reflect that, and the Centaurs can take ridiculous damage. You'll see similar effects on Wolf Riders or Dark Riders. Back when I was doing Kairos, the Marauder Spearmen of Tzeentch managed to fight off, or at least hold out against, ridiculously powerful styles of cavalry like Lizardmen ones. This kept them useful long beyond what I expected. Stalk and Vanguard deployment obviously give you a lot of possibilities, but the point is that you have powerful tools for picking the best fights you can get away with. Obviously, you have limits. I think it's probably popular to forego the Ungor Herd and Ungor Herd Spearmen with shields to pour Dread only into later units. But this is Warhammer 3. You don't need to go all archer spam, and often you don't even want to. So, how do we make them better? After all, we have our sneaky low-born commando units, so how? Naturally, we're dealing with Fury of the Herd, with the Red Lord line adding leadership and melee defense, and not melee attack, but that's what Primal Fury helps with. Plus 6 leadership to both means the Ungors will last longer in melee, which is exactly where they should be. Even 28 melee defense is alright, but 30 or 36 is actually decent. Unrelenting Savagery gives any Ungor melee surviving to rank 7, plus 5 to melee attack, plus 5 to melee defense, and 10% physical resistance, which plunges them into interestingly decent territory. I mean, keep in mind the extra number of models. At the very least, the enemy will find chewing through them harder. As for challenges, the pitying Plight of the No-Horns adds +4 leadership and +3 melee attack to the Ungor melee units. Isn't that nice? That's it. That's all they get. Even the tech tree discriminates against them. What I really mean is that it's only global buffs that make them better beyond that point, but even the most basic, lowly, no-horn beastman infantry has the potential to be sticky to the enemy, to hem their forces in by sheer force of numbers, to force them into a virtual corner. The question I have used the entire beastman roster to pose is, are the Ungors any good? Well, a little, a tiny bit, but compared to basically everything else except maybe harpies? No, they're not. If you measure your units by objective goodness, then they're trash. Does that mean you should never recruit them? Heavens, no. Ungors are your blue-collar beastmen. They have a job to do. They come to work on time, do their thing, and if they survive, clock out. Also, more to the point, Gors, let alone Bestigors, take a lot of Marks of Ruination to get to, and then a lot of Dread to unlock slots for. So if you have a problem infantry are meant to solve, Ungors are your only option for long periods of time. What are these jobs? Number 1. Deterring cavalry charges into your more vulnerable units, primarily Ungor raiders, or simply to lengthen your lines with less fear of those charges ruining you. Number 2. Meat shields. Preferably carrying shields, because then the meat shields for longer. Even the spear variant with shields fights harder, so yeah, fighting vampires, they're not wasted, and you'll be glad you have them when Blood Knights come calling. Number 3. Tying down missile units. Yes, there are times the dogs should handle this, but a mix of stealth and speed and, to be blunt, expendability makes this a job for Ungors too. Number 4. Wall crashing. I don't mean through the walls, they're not giants. I mean climbing up and smacking archers. Tying down missile units with your more expendable forces is one of their best uses in a siege situation. They sure won't win the battles in the streets on their own. That is the final theme of the Ungors. They can shape the battle, they can attack where they're not supposed to be, they can cause a lot of distraction, but they cannot win the battle on their own. In fact, I've been aghast at how slow they are at destroying gates, because the one thing you do not see in the above list is penetrating armor. Gates are armored. Ungors are really bad at that. And yet, the stock is stupidly powerful if used strategically, giving you no excuse to ever have enemies you haven't encircled in some way. It might take extra time, but you should be able to. Even the lowliest Ungor is much more dangerous stabbing from behind. Everything else is a matter of picking the right tool for the right job. Ipso facto, Ungor Herd are what you'd want to annihilate zombies, for instance. They're more efficient against the likes of skink cohorts. Unless you send them against Chaos Dwarf Warriors or Infernal Guard, they will do some damage, and if you are, well, you're buying time. In a fast faction, with a lot of tools for doing damage, buying time is still a big job, and the blue-collar Ungors are there to do it, or die trying. And one more thing, Kazrak gives Ungors in his army poison, so that helps. Take care, and have fun making your opponents reflect on their poorly chosen charges.